Okay, this is the second video in Module 1. It's about solving the inflation-deflation debate. Now, this video is different than any other video I'm doing on here in this course because it's not really about making money using gold. It's a bit of a sideshow, but it's a topic I feel like I should address right at the beginning, because I get so many emails from people every single day just about asking me about inflation or deflation and whether one or the other and what's gold going to do and so forth. And the reason why is because so many people talk about these things all over the internet and make all these predictions about them, end of the world type predictions. And one of the things I talk about is a deflation depression. It's a prediction that everything is going to fall in value, like 2008, but 10 times worse. And it's going to be like the Great Depression. But the thing is, people who espouse this viewpoint, often they do so to do a promotion where they're selling newsletters or whatever the case is. But a lot of these type of people are also predicting that gold is going to crash too. And they have all these reasons or scenarios, I should say, about the future, and they kind of repeat them and they're real bombastic about them. And then what happens is other people think inflation is coming, and then you have these two people arguing with each other and so forth. And what happens to the person who gets interested in gold investing or the gold market is they start reading things on the internet, and they're going to encounter this debate and try to figure out what's going on here. So that's really what this video is about, why I have it in the beginning here. If you're only interested in how to make money on gold, you can skip the video. But most people, this is where they're really starting out. And we have a hyperinflation type scenario that people talk about too. That's where the dollar, they predict it's going to just crash overnight and gold's going to go up as a result. Is that going to happen? The deflation people say no. What are you supposed to do? Who are you supposed to believe? Well, the reality is I do not invest in predictions. I do not invest in scenarios about the future or what people say the economy is going to do. Now, I've got my own beliefs about the economy or what I think is happening, but even then, and I do talk about them at times, especially when people interview me or whatever, but even then, I don't really invest based on that. I invest and make my trading bets based on what the trends of the markets are. I try to align myself with those trends until they change. The reason why is because no one can predict the future. I have never met anybody who can successfully predict what the economy is going to do, much less use such predictions to figure out what to do with their money in the financial markets. It just does not work that way. So to me, all these talk about deflation, inflation is really a lot of distraction, a lot of noise out there. And another reason why that's the case is because historically, if we look at deflation and people who predicting deflation's coming so gold's going to crash, there is no correlation between falling gold prices and deflation, not consistently. Look, in the United States, the most famous example of deflation was the Great Depression in the 1930s. What did gold do? Gold absolutely soared during that time. Why? Because people knew that the Fed was going to have, the Federal Reserve was going to have to do something, or the government, as a result of deflation that was happening. And what happened? Franklin Roosevelt took the dollar off the gold standard. Gold prices went up into that news for years, factoring in that the government was going to do something. And it happened, and it just continued up and up and up. But then, in the years of 2011 and 2015, gold prices fell during a time in which there was slight inflation. So, and then gold prices, of course, exploded in the 1970s when there's high inflation. The point is there really isn't a consistent and direct correlation between what gold does and what inflation and deflation is happening. There just isn't. So it's not even that useful to try to figure out what's going on there and then align your gold investments with that. It just isn't. It's a fun thing to talk about and think about perhaps, but totally useless when it comes to what you're going to do with your money in the financial markets. I want to repeat, just follow the trends. You see, what happens with everybody? The stock market is confusing. It seems to be confusing because it moves all the time. Every day it's up or down, and the way people's brains work is they want to have a reason for that movement. And they try to solve that or answer that by looking for news stories that back it up or explain it for them. And if they can't, then they just keep going in the circle, and then they'll latch on to somebody who has a prediction for the future that they like for whatever reason. And then they feel good that they now have a simple explanation. The reality is these explanations don't really work as far as trying to make money. And what's really happening is people are grasping onto them because their mind wants to feel certain about what's going on. They're trying to overthink things. And what they really need to do is recognize two simple things. Okay, first of all, you cannot figure every single thing out in the world, and much less in the financial markets. You cannot figure out why the market goes up in the next 5 minutes or may go down in 15 minutes. You just can't. You can't predict what it's going to do the next day. What you can do, though, is identify the big trend of the market through stage analysis, which I mentioned in the first video. And I've got links below this video with a PDF about stage analysis. It's a topic I talk about a lot. It's in my book, Strategic Stock Trading. But you just have to know what the big trend is and align yourself with that. Then all this daily noise is totally meaningless. And that comes to the second thing. You don't have to figure everything out. You just have to focus on what is important. It's the big trend. We talked about that, how to identify that, and so forth. As far as the deflation debate goes, you can ignore it. And by ignoring it, you solve it for yourself. If you really want an answer, then I'll give you one right now. In reality, inflation is very simple. Inflation is a falling consumer price index. It's an economic indicator. So if the CPI is positive, there's inflation. If it's negative, there's deflation. One of the problems with this deflation-inflation debate is the people engaging in it, and it's such a popular topic, they don't have clear definitions of what they're talking about. Therefore, the whole debate's a big, giant muddle of confusion and nonsense and so forth. So now you know what CPI is. You can see what it's doing now, and you know if it's inflation or deflation going on. But as far as what to do with your investing, it pretty much means nothing. It's the end of this video, and now we're going to return back to the nitty-gritty. I just had to step out and enter the world that everyone is in on the internet of all this mass confusion and return us to core investing principles, putting gold in context with them, and using gold as a tool to actually make us money, not as a religious object, not as an insurance policy, but as a money-making instrument and asset.